Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another exciting day at MBTV. All three of us are here now, so it's not just a rant from me like it was on Monday. So today's topic, Daniel and I were discussing some of the inner issues and the manifested symptoms of particular problems such as, let's say that we have a symptom that we want to address, whether it's a lack of focus, lack of attention, depression, anxiety, stress manifested, self-doubt, worry, some other things that you may be wondering, why do I feel this way, right? Why am I dealing with this? So the common approach is you type in the symptom in Google, and you go, why can't I focus, right? And you're going to see these ads that pop up like Ritalin and Adderall and all this other crap that you can hop on to help you solve these symptoms. Now, I'll tell you, before I really get into this subject, one of the things is when I worked in a headache clinic, when we were doing a lot of extensive work on migraines, there was this mentality of, I've got these symptoms that are manifesting, right? Even though the majority of the causes of these migraines were actually centered in the neck as cervicogenic migraines, which means they come from the neck, okay? In the overwhelming majority of cases, over 90%. Now, this isn't a pitch for the migraine, but just to give you an idea of how we're looking at everything as far as psychology goes. So these people come in, they have all these symptoms in their eye, their head, their forehead, the top of the head, whatever, and they want to address the symptoms. Like my eye, so let's get an eye injection, right? It feels better, it feels good because I put fluid in my eye, right? Or whatever it is that the people are doing. So it's address the symptoms. Or this is where it gets really interesting because a lot of the people who had migraines also had nausea, they had bowel problems, they had symptoms like Crohn's. They had symptoms like IBS. They had symptoms like asthma. They had breathing issues, all tied into cervicogenic sources, which means coming from the neck. So when you're looking at these core issues and you're looking at the symptoms, a lot of people just go in and so they're going to see the gastroenterologist, the ENT. They're going to see all these different doctors to address all these different symptoms. But what this is when it comes to psychology is very similar, right? So we're having a symptom. It could be a symptom of anxiety, which is a fear, right? It could be a symptom of depression, which some people think is an illness in itself, and it might be. I mean, like I said, I'm not a psychiatrist. I can't tell you if it is or not. But in the majority of cases, whether it's people I have worked with, and as a coach, or people that I have talked to personally as friends, or as just a random stranger to have a conversation with, I have found that it's a deeper rooted core issue. So today's topic is to expose these deeper rooted core issues within our three Enneagram types, which is Daniel's Enneagram 3, Trey's Enneagram 5, and my Enneagram 8. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to get a little personal here, as far as revealing some of the things that we deal with. And Daniel and I were sharing some thoughts earlier about some of the problems that manifest and the symptoms that we face. And our goal today is not necessarily to give you guys a action checklist, which I would normally like to do, but to let you guys and allow you guys to better know us through some exposure of vulnerability as far as the areas in which we suffer as people, because everybody has those points in which they want to move forward. And so Daniel's going to come forward and he's going to talk a lot about, and we're going to exchange some information, talk a lot about the things that we face. And hopefully some of you guys as the audience get some value out of these three Enneagram types. And in the future, maybe I can find some people of alternative Enneagram types to help that are willing to share their vulnerabilities as well in some areas in which they struggle. So this is a real-time application of Enneagram and to see what effect it has on our daily life. So what you get out of it is looking at the application of Enneagram as it is here in real life. So, all right. So Daniel, we were talking a little earlier about Enneagram 3, and you mentioned some symptoms that you may be facing, some things that you may be dealing with. What would you like to share with our audience, and then we can go from there?
I think what I would like to start off with was that as a type 3 being really focused on my agenda in an authentic way and wanting to get things done, there's a lot to, I guess, maintain mindfully when it comes to my life, when it comes to how I carry myself in my life, my image, my identity. And I get really depressed. I get depressed very easily when it comes to not creating in my life. So I'll give you an example. I'm like a little bit under the weather, and I had to go to the store to pick up some stuff to get better. as I'm on my way to pick up some things, I'm noticing how, there's all these houses around me. And so it got me into thinking, like, here I am being sick, and I woke up really late. I didn't get the things that I wanted to get done accomplished. And so I'm like back even more than I already know that I am. I like back on my stuff. And now I'm looking at all these houses around me saying to myself, wow, like I really don't have my crap together, like how can these people, have the acquired, particular things, not necessarily that I want, not necessarily what I seem valuable, but people go on with their journey and they can stay focused and they can move forward. And I'm like, putting my current sickness aside of just being sick, how can I move forward? How can I how is it possible that I'm not able to create the life that I want? And so what me and Damon were talking about was pretty much a lot of like my general focus is not on getting things done or the things that I actually want to get done. It's really, there's so much energy that's put forward into actually presenting myself than I thought possible. More about sustaining my self-image, sustaining this fear of like this fear of not like this fear of failure, but staying away from the fear of failure and staying away from failure and trying to figure out within every action of the day, how can I stay away from, being a failure, right? And so it's hard because I was telling Damon, it's been a struggle throughout my whole life to want something for myself from growing up. And, I was telling him how whether it's working at multiple jobs and getting burnt out real quickly from working because I don't want to I want to pretty much come off impenetrable at any job that I have that I'm working at. I want to come off impenetrable, efficient, accurate, and a very good purposeful worker, right? Purposeful, whatever I'm doing. And so I put tremendous amounts of energy and focus into things that are going to offset failure, right? Or this perception of failure. And for me, that's only really taken away from the actual focuses that I want to be pursuing. And so as a result, like a lot of my life, it's really hard to get things done or completed.
Do you feel like a failure most of the time?
It's really the exact opposite. Like I really don't feel like a failure ever.
Okay. Or do you feel like you're out of touch with reality as far as like you think that you have this fear of failure and the fear is manifested from something that is not existent or is actually deep within you? Which one do you think it is?
I mean, I honestly think it's deep within me.
Okay, so at the core, you may feel like a failure, but you're unaware of it, which is a lot of the issue with Enneagram 3, right?
Yeah, like I'll give you a good example. Like when I was 18, I first started exploring these outer layers of core fears. When I realized that, from my parental figures, when I grew up, I actually, and I mentioned this, I think, in other videos, how I was raised to be nothing, everything that is a failure. I grew up being a failure without having any kind of life experience. I was just deemed a failure just because of who I am. That's just how I grew up. And when I turned like around 18 or 19, I slowly, I opened up to the layers of saying to myself, you know what, like these were just my parents, this is what I'm going through. Like I'm going to start exploring this mindset because I know that I'm not a failure. This was just a projection given to me, right? That I have to face, right, over and over again. So now I have to fight that.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I do want to make sure that we keep this on moving, and I want to kind of let's target this particular question here. Is if you're at a point where you were walking down the street or whatever, and you see these houses, and you see people living in these houses, and you are not in one of these houses, you don't have a sense of feeling like a failure at all?
Oh, I do, totally.
So you feel like that. I'm not saying are you or are you not a failure, but do you feel like a failure?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Not because of the houses, but because it shows me, like, it reminds me of what I want to accomplish, and that I'm not there.
All right. So, like I said earlier, the metrics that we establish, which is the metric of success, and I've told Daniel this, and I want you guys to hear this as well, is that the measurement of success, right? The obsession with the particular image, right, that makes us look or appear successful, whether it's a house or whether it's a car or whether it's a family, whatever it is that we're attached to, whatever identification that we're setting out, whatever image that we're projecting forth, we can often use these as metrics to judge how successful we are. And when you use the word successful, most people think financially successful, right? So you financially can be successful, but the word success in general, for Daniel, how would you define success as an Enneagram 3? Let's just keep this conversation like no one's here, okay? Between you and I,
yeah.
How would you personally define success?
Success is, for me, it's how much I can connect to the world and give back my personal authenticity back to the world.
Okay, so now that sounds good on paper, but when you're walking down the street, you see these houses. Why does that make you feel like a failure if your metric of success is how much you can connect to people?
Because directly, I'm not able to do that right now.
Why?
Just from a lack of growing either myself or my endeavors.
Okay, so what does that have to do with the houses? Why is the house a reminder of your endeavor to connect to other people?
It's more of a reminder of how people can progress in life, and it feels like that I'm stuck. And because I'm stuck, it rolls into the idea of like, wow, like, you know, like they can pursue this, they can move on, but why am I stuck here, right? Even though they probably have their life experience and their journey, you know, I'm still here. You know, I feel like I fall back into these pockets of life, you know what I mean, as a result of these tendencies.
Okay, so just to be clear, the houses or the homes or whatever it is you saw are a reminder that you have not progressed to where you need to be to connect with people effectively?
Yeah, pretty much.
What does a material object have to do with the connection of people?
It's not, they're not correlated at all. It's just, it reminds me of, it's more about obtaining, right? Like when somebody, like,
so acquisition.
Acquisition. Yeah.
Acquisition it's not about, of what?
I guess just value. So when I see, let's just say you had a Lamborghini. I'm not going to say to myself, wow, this person got a Lamborghini, right? But what I will say to myself is, this person had acquired something from doing something and giving back. And that they were able to do this consistently, or they were able to do this effectively and show the world themselves and give back to the world. And, you know, I'm not there yet. I just keep falling back, or I keep cycling, and it's like, you know, it feels like I'm not moving at a pace where it can get to that place, you know. Okay. I feel like I'm in a standstill between what I want and, you know, where I'm actually going.
Okay, so would you say that your ability to connect with people is diminished by your lack of progress in your life?
I wouldn't say so. I would say that it's always enhanced. It's always my direct focus. So, you know, I would be willing to talk to anybody. I would talk to 1 million people if I could, you know, if I had the opportunity.
All right. So why don't you? You do have the opportunity. If that's your measurement of success, is your ability to connect with people, what is stopping you from connecting to people versus trying to measure your success based on the acquisition of material?
Well, it's more of a sense of figuring out how to balance it all, right? So there's what I want versus my need for security. Okay. And, you know, which is safe to say, you know, I don't I want to do as much as I can for as long as, you know, I'm in a comfortable and secure place to take care of myself, you know, and, you know, like that's my struggle right now is I believe that I'd be way more sufficient for myself and for others if I was able to take care of myself in a balanced way. That's why that's my focus this year.
All right. So, yeah, and that makes sense. Yeah. So, all right. So you have a particular metric of here's how I'm gauging my success, and it's the ability to connect with people, and you want to connect with people, and you have this desire to connect with people, but you feel that because you're diminished, and let's say that you're not achieving your own personal goals in life, whatever that may be, that you're not able to connect to people on the same level, and that is deriving a sense of failure within yourself. So the question I have for you is, where do you think this sense of failure originated?
I think it originated by being totally incapable, yet somehow being comfortable living within failure growing up.
That actually makes sense.
Yeah. Because when I grew up, I know I not only had, you know, I had one parental figure telling me to be everything that I'm not, be a doctor, be a lawyer, do something really great for yourself. But then I had another parental figure saying, you're meaningless, you're worthless, you're never going to amount to anything in life. Why even try? And might as well be a plumber. Right. And anytime that I try to leave the box of failure or leave that environment of failure, right? Because all I knew and, you know, growing up until I was 18 was failure, and living in this like desolate wasteland of negativity. That's all I knew. And so it's comfortable for me. It's comfortable to resonate in failure. So when I try to push out, you know, I literally just like try to push out as much as I can mentally, you know, and I think that manifests with anything that I do. I put so much energy in bursts that after like a couple months or half a year or a full year, I go back into this place of like, now I'm exhausted. I didn't fully branch out of that mindset. You know, I fully didn't escape failure, you know, and now I'm back in this place.
Okay. So you feel that because you burst. Why do you think you phase out after a few months? You're like, okay, I'm phasing out. Um, do you think it's because that you have this attachment to the image that you're projecting in the particular job or duty or whatever it is you're doing is not projecting that or giving you that satisfaction, or is there another reason?
When I phase out of these working situations, or like that energy in general?
Yeah, like why do you phase out? Why do you fizzle out after a few months?
Because I just put so much energy on the work and / presentation of doing what I'm doing.
But it's not you.
Yeah. Like the dealership. Like I'll give you an example. When I worked at my first dealership that I worked at, I put all of my energy and power and love into like the first 3 or 4 months. I performed the best out of everybody. I did the best. I was known, you know, to be a good worker. And then people just started realizing like that's, you know, that it was just a burst, right? People realized like, oh, well, what happened to those first 4 months, Dan? Like, blah, blah, blah. You know, then I started realizing that the people's perception of me was changing. You know, people didn't know me for the integrity I tried to maintain. People knew me for, you know, something other than me that was not authentic. So then I cared less.
So the question I have as a follow-up to this, do you think you as a person and who you are and how you know yourself and your own identity and not even your perception of yourself, but who you really think you are, can actually succeed?
I think I can.
Then what do you think the attachment to these images are?
I don't know.
Okay. So this is do you think the attachment to the images comes from a fear of failure in itself, and it's like maybe at the core level that you think who you really are isn't viable, Do you think that who you really are isn't capable of actually succeeding in what you measure success as?
I think who I am as it is now isn't enough.
Okay, so where do you think your true identity is lacking in the order of success, which is your defined version of success, which is connecting with people? Where do you think your true identity is failing in the connection with people? What do you think you're presenting that is interrupting your connection with people?
Being probably an enhanced version of who I want to be without being it yet. Because obviously, if I connect to who I am now, and if I do accept the I am enough, right, actual concept, then technically I would come off way more authentic, and there wouldn't be a need to be that way, right? But because there is this inner struggle between what I want versus where I am, what I need to do to get there versus not wanting to wait or go through the personal work to achieve it, I'm always looking for that fast track. And like I always tell people, I can learn anything in 2 to 3 weeks, right? Like I was telling people the other day at the restaurant I work at, they're like, why don't you just become a server? I'm like, I could. Just give me 2 to 3 weeks and I'll do it. You know what I mean?
Is that
like
true across the board? Everything in 2 to 3 weeks?
I would say more or less anything that I'm fixated on. Like I learned trading in 2 or 3 weeks. I learned a lot. I can learn a lot in 2 3 weeks. I haven't tested language. That's on the to-do list, but
Okay. Well, why do you think this 2 to 3 weeks thing is prominent? What was the incentive to mention this? Because I can tell you right now, you're not going to learn neurosurgery in 2 weeks.
No. Oh no, not of course.
Yeah, and so
it's more of like a phrase to exemplify competency, and my way of saying that I can be competent in something and learn something. I have the capability.
Okay. All right. So you say this. Let time frame aside. Do you feel that it was necessary to mention how fast you can learn things in comparison to other people?
No, honestly, it really has no relevance. But it's more of like I want to be seen that I am capable. Without capability, it's hard to, like, if somebody isn't capable of doing something, then how relevant can they be in that profession that they're working in, right? You can have somebody who's a bartender, but if they're not grossing and they're not doing the actual job functions that they need, then they're not a very effective bartender, or whatever the job may be, accountant or trader.
Yeah, give me a second. I think Eric is on the chat room. So Eric, I will give you attention because you're crying over here. So he says the embrace of failure correlates strongly with the ability to succeed. And I knew not about failure until I was 42 years old, abusing oneself verbally, a super self-indulgent drug, but addictive nonetheless. And so it's satisfying. It's eminently satisfying to abuse oneself. That's why. And then he says, oh, for goodness sakes, is it not possible to get on the mic? I provided the best answer, yet it gets unaddressed. Okay, so he says basically it feels good to beat oneself up and it's self-indulgent. So in other words, he feels that the place of pain is so in the place of pain is actually comfortable for a lot of people. And it's an ego fixation, which I agree with. I think that's exactly what's happening. And that's the point of Enneagram, is to recognize our own fixation and the traps that we set ourselves, regardless of what Enneagram type we are. I'm going to switch over to Trey real quick. Do you want to add anything to this particular Enneagram 3? No? All right. So Trey, let's jump on you.
All right. What's up?
Not literally, of course, but let's get the emphasis on Enneagram 5. So Trey, what struggles have you had as someone who identifies with Enneagram 5? Where are you at with that? What is your aspect of Enneagram 5 in the sense of the things that you feel you struggle with most? Obviously, I know you in my own perspective, but I'd like you to share your perspective on what it is with Enneagram 5 that you feel is a big hurdle for you and something that you're working on actively.
Yeah, I'd say that when it comes to maintaining most things in my life, I have difficulty. So the reason being that I think I really don't hold much value in most of it. I prioritize my understanding of something over mostly everything else. and I think I know why that is. Today I was actually looking at Enneagram 5, and I came across something that said that type 5s commonly look at the family, and the family has some role that you're supposed to be a part of. And the type 5 doesn't see where they fit in or how they can provide or be that role. So what they do is they sort of avoid it and look elsewhere for information or something that they can bring back to bring value back to the family. And I actually really related to that, to my core, because truthfully, a lot of the things that I go out and look to understand have a lot to do with the family. And there was just a lot of conflict that I was trying to figure out how to resolve. And you look at me now and I'm, just most of my understanding goes towards, how to fix these conflicts and how to fix these problems, how to get to the core of these issues, how to, like, even with religion and spirituality, and how I can take these things and basically make a baseline where everyone can get along. And that's something that I've been working on for a long time, not even knowing like why I was so interested in the things I was interested in. And then I start to realize it all comes back down to one of the core issues being that I'm just trying to bring back something. I'm trying to bring value. I'm trying to fit into this role, and feeling like I can't fit into the role, feeling like I don't know. It's a tough one because there's a lot of different aspects to type 5, but I mean, for me, there's been antisocial sides of the type 5 that I don't really relate to, and it may have something to do with SX as a instinctual variant, because I'm an SX type 5, but just altogether it feels like I'm just trying to get over these trying to get back into this role, trying to understand things for my own comfort so that I feel prepared.
Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna ask you something, because it sounds very impersonal right now, kind of like this is what Enneagram 5s deal with. What do you, as a person, deal with currently that is a problem?
Yeah. Okay, so I think that one of my main issues is that I always find that when I get the most stressed, it has to do with something like a social environment that seems to, like, I did something wrong, like there's something missing. And it's not like, I mean, because every time that comes up, I feel like there's something that I'm missing out on. Like there's something that I didn't do right. And for me, from my best understanding, that's the best thing I could have done. So it's like, then there's moments where I get caught up in contemplation, like, should I do this or should I do that? And then the contemplation keeps me from doing it, and action happens. And then everyone around me is like, why didn't you do this? And I'm like, well, I was thinking about it, but what could I, do better? I mean, I wasn't sure. And so for me, I think that that's a big problem for me, is when I get into situations where it seems like I was supposed to do something, like I was supposed to provide something or something along those lines. And that's probably one of the most disappointing things, because what it makes me want to do is it makes me want to just completely not have to deal with people. But I don't like that at all, because I actually enjoy people a lot. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy just natural communication with people. And when I feel like there's uneasiness, it bothers me a lot. Like when I feel like I want to do something to fix it, and I want to make sure that I have mastered it. And that's why I was actually looking into counter type 5s, which I don't think exist, but I was looking into it because I wanted to know if there were any 5s that are afraid of social interaction, but study it intensely so that they are prepared for it and can enter it and can be a part of it. because that's what I feel like I'm always doing. So I'm trying to find a way to be a part of it and not have to feel like I'm always messing it up or something. And I think 4 may have something to do with that too. But I guess the main point is being that for me, I get continually disappointed with not really myself. I feel like I get disappointed that there was anything ever put on me anyways. Like if I get in a situation where, people are like, oh, like, what the heck? Like, you should have done this, or why didn't you do that, or whatever. And it's like, for me, I'm like, well, why even point the finger in the first place? Like, I don't really like that. I don't really like having that on me. And I think being blamed for that sort of thing kind of sucks. So I always try to understand, because part of me really does just want to go, you know what? I'm just going to get a box and I'm going to live in it. I'm going to bring my toothbrush and a good like bar of soap and just live my life completely alone. But I also hate the thought of that, because, doing that, you don't have to really deal with anybody. But at the same time, like, I really do want to deal with people, because there's a lot of things that come from people that you can't find anywhere else. So.
Okay, so as far as competence goes, do you ever, I mean, obviously the 5's core fear is lacking competence. Where does this manifest in your life?
Yeah, so it seems like, at my job when I wasn't doing so good, it's because I'd space out and stuff. And over time I got better and better. But before, when I wasn't doing good, it was like when I felt like I wasn't doing good, I don't know, it kind of presents itself in a lot of different situations, anywhere I go, really. Like, it's like, oh, dude, I wasn't good enough to do that. I wasn't good enough to do this. But I know I have some kind of something. I know I have some kind of something that gives me value. And I know people around me see that I have some kind of something, but it's not what everyone else wants or needs, apparently. So it's like, for me, I'm like, well, damn, because, I've worked pretty hard to figure this. I think my attention goes to fulfilling the role, fulfilling the expectation that I was talking about earlier, to having that substance that I can bring back. And so I'm so focused on that substance that I miss all the things that are expected or important. And so it brings me back to a point where people like look at me like I'm not doing it right or something, but I'm trying so hard to understand, what exactly is missing. I think it's the focus. The focus is that I'm so focused on understanding what is missing that I miss what it is while I'm focused on that. Something like that. I don't know.
Okay, so where does this fear primarily manifest? Do you ever actually feel the fear of not knowing how to do something? And if so, what's an example?
Yeah, I think that the fear comes more like well, damn, that sucks. I blew it. It's not something that I'm like genuinely scared of. I don't think, anyways. I am afraid of messing things up. I am afraid of sort of being tackled or taken down. And so really, for me, if someone were to just completely cut off a relationship, I'd probably be like, okay. But if they were to attack me and stuff and say that it was my fault and all that, I'd get really defensive. I'd get all kinds of stuff, because I don't want to be the one that was the fault. If things happen that way, that's okay with me. I can handle that. But when someone brings it on to me and says that I couldn't, like it was me or it was whatever I was doing that caused it, I have a big problem with that. And I think that may have something to do with me avoiding things that same way. Like for me, if I'm not feeling a relationship or something like that, I'll just kind of not really take part in it, and it'll slowly kind of fade away. And so when someone does that to me, I'm kind of like, okay, I get that. But I would never attack the person directly and say, oh, you're the reason that this failed and this failed or that failed. And that may come from, feeling like I could never do anything right when I was younger.
When you say right, do you mean like correct actually in doing it, or like morally right?
Both. Okay. Because I get criticized all the time for not doing things morally right, But then I would also really get criticized for missing everything, or, you know, like, I don't know, just maybe, you know, maybe I'd zone out and I wouldn't see that I was supposed to open the door for somebody or something. And just that stuff would get me in a lot of trouble all the time, because it was like, I don't know, it's like, it's also it's a little bit like someone's on your back all the time, because, like, I understand that I mess up quite a bit because I can't even see what's going on around me. Like, I get that. Like, my cognition's all screwed up or whatever because I'm a, you know, I dominant. I can't see anything that's actually happening, whatever. So I get that, like, for me, you know, like, I miss a lot of things, but it seems like every time I miss something, someone's right there, like, right there to be like, dude, are you kidding me? Like, and so that's probably what I hate the most, is that, like, I can't really help it. And so, you know, I miss things. Sometimes I get caught in indecision because I contemplate things too much, and it's just simple things around me. Like, you would never think that someone would contemplate so much about, you know, holding the door open or something, but, like, it's very likely. And then it catches me in a moment where I just never do it because I think about it or something, and just it never happens. And then, you know, because of all that, because I was thinking too much about it, or because I was thinking too much about something else and I missed it, you know, it seems like someone's there to be like, to tell me that, oh yeah, like, you missed that, or why didn't you do this, or just, they don't even have to say it. Like, it can just be like you can just tell that they're upset about it. And what do you do? You know what I mean? Like, they're upset. So I'd just be like, okay, they're upset. They're upset now. You know, what do I do? Apologize for something like that? Like, the fact that they're upset about it in the first place is already ridiculous to me. So now I'm supposed to apologize for something so small and ludicrous so that they feel better? They're not even going to feel better. There's no point in doing it. And then, you know, nothing happens at all. So it's like, that's probably, yeah. I don't even remember your question.
Okay, so the follow-up is, now that you have exposed this issue, have you put in place any idea of how to move past it?
Yeah, I guess. Seems impossible though. My best answer I could probably give for the solution is, well, there's two or three. I can only think of two right now. I think there might be a third one. I'd say one of the answers would be to try my best to understand everything, so that there is no contemplation. There's just immediate understanding. And then if there is, then I can say, you know, oh, now that I understand this, I won't ever have this problem again because I fully understand it. But I think there's too many variables to fully understand something, so that seems like completely impossible to me. So I think that, truthfully, the answer is to surround myself with people who understand that. Just, you know, even when I think about, like, relationships, like long-term relationships and people that I might spend the rest of my life with, like, it's always that I want to be able to share something and not get any criticism for it. I remember there was this girl when I was there was this girl that told me one time that when I was really young, like, because she was young too, but she said that when she was, like, when we were both little, she had a big crush on me. And, you know, people would always see me space out and be like, that kid's weird. You know what I mean? Because I would space out so much. And this girl apparently would get upset at those people because they were seeing that I was spaced out and they were making fun of me for it, while she was so intrigued by what I might be thinking about or what might be going through my head. And so that's kind of, you know, that's kind of what I think about. I want someone that is not necessarily going to criticize me for my thoughts or anything like that. Not criticize me because I missed something or because I was, like, oblivious. Someone who asks, why is it that you didn't do this? And I can say, oh, I'm sorry, I just, you know, I couldn't decide, or I thought about it, or, you know, maybe I just forgot, or I was thinking about something else. Oh, that's okay. You know what I mean? Like, instead of being like, well, you know what I mean? Like, that's just ridiculous that you would zone out like that. Like, I don't know. It's like, I can't help it. So someone that's going to understand that and not necessarily criticize me for it, recognize that, you know, I can share my ideas or my thoughts with anyone. And even if they're far-fetched, don't have anything relevant, like any relevancy to the current subject, anything like that, then, you know, I'm still going to get appreciated for what that was. I'm still going to be appreciated for the thought. Just the fact that I would think something like that, it's just interesting, you know, just for someone else. Like when someone else is thinking something, when they're looking at the ground, or they're, you know, they seem like they're focused on something, and, you know, I want to know what it is. What kind of person is this that in their current state they would think whatever they're thinking? Like, this person is in a current situation like this, so what the hell is this person going to be thinking in this kind of situation? And when they tell me, I feel like I have this really interesting information. It's like they've told me that, because I know what it's like in my head. I know what I'll be thinking when I'm put in situations, but for other people, it's entirely different. It's like such a bigger picture to build. And, you know, it interests me. Like when you're looking at the wall and there's all this going on, are you thinking about the pattern on the wall? Or are you thinking about, you know, how, you know, this happened earlier? Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to know. Are you remembering things from your past? Are you looking forward to how things could be in the future where they're better than they are now? You know, what is it that this person thinks about? And that's what's interesting to me. So when I look at other people, I want to know what's going on in their heads. And I don't want to necessarily criticize them if they're thinking about something really weird. I just want to know what it is, so I can be like, wow, that's freaking crazy. What brought you there? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. There's just something about just accepting that that's how things are, and that's just how I am. That I can't really help it. That I have an issue. Cool. So, you know, I guess it's just more about surrounding. I guess I kind of need that. I guess I kind of need somebody to just be like, yeah, it's cool. I've always, you know, really enjoyed being around really chill people. Not people that are like, I like talking to people and being able to share my ideas, but, you know, I like chill people where they're not necessarily, where they're going to be more interested than they are, you know, critical or whatever. So, yeah.
Daniel, you have any questions for Trey?
No, it's interesting how you said like you put so much emphasis on like wanting to know everything, kind of like that. You know that guy from the Matrix? He's in the room with like a million TVs. Like that's how I see you, kind of, and like
That's great.
You see him
yeah,
as the architect?
yeah.
Can you adjust your
Meanwhile,
camera?
I am the
Daniel?
architect.
Daniel, can you adjust your camera? This isn't cool.
It's because I don't want Trey to see all of me in that room, you know. No, but like yeah, like I see, because they like yeah, like that's his version of him being the architect. Like I am like so into that metaphor of like that scene, because it's like how can somebody possibly get a grasp so much data that's just so dynamic? You know what I mean? It's like trying to catch a snake that turns into two snakes, and when you catch the two, it turns into 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. And it's like there's just so much information out there that's going to change, and equations and situations that will change over time. You have to ask yourself if the system in place that you have yourself is going to be able to adjust, not being able to obtain the information, but be able to synthesize it, right? Differently, right? Where if somebody affects you, you're not going to be affected, right? Are you reacting, or are you reacting? Yeah, are you reacting, or are you learning? Are you appreciating the situation, or are you reacting to the situation?
When what happens? Sorry.
No, just like in general, because like you know the fear or whatever is something that like you said along the lines of wanting to know everything, right? Like wanting to know situations and what people are thinking, right? Figuring out maybe outcomes, I guess, or solutions, outcomes. I don't know, but it just sounds like there's a lot of trying to prepare for like this fear.
Yeah, that actually, yeah. So an example I have that really fits what you were saying was that, you know, I'll be working, and I've actually used this example in a live call before, but I'll be working and I'll bump into somebody or I'll piss someone off somehow. And when I do that, you know, I automatically think that person looked mad. If they get mad enough to do something drastic, like take me to court, who here has the better argument? You know what I mean? And then I would think of that far and say, okay, if they take me to court, then I do have the better argument, or I would, if they have the better argument, then I'd think about how I could make me have the better argument. And then I'd be like, okay, cool. And once I have that finished, then I completely ignore it. And if somebody comes up and they were to say, you know what, I'm going to take you to court now. I'm going to sue you for this. Then I'm probably going to be like, I might talk to him about it or ask him about it. When I get back, I might come here. I might talk to Damon. Damon might be like, so how's work? I'd be like, oh yeah, someone sued me. What the hell? And I'll probably laugh about it, or probably be like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like, truthfully, I'm not really surprised. I already thought about it. And if it did happen, then I was okay with it. I'm prepared, and most likely I'm not going to get sued, most likely, because it was just something small. It was like I bumped into him, or, whatever it was.
Yeah.
The point is, I am going to take it really chill now, because I've already thought about it, because I know I've already kind of mentally digested it. When things that are unexpected happen to me, I don't like that at all. I don't like when things like that happen, because I haven't prepared for them. If I truthfully thought that no one would ever do this ever, then it happened, that would bother me, because I usually, even if I do have a lot of faith in the person, I still think about the fact that they might do that. You know what I mean? So,
right.
So that I can be prepared, so that I can think about it. So yes, there's a big fear that I'm going to do something wrong, or that somebody's like, truthfully, I've gotten to the point where I validated my actions to the extent where everyone is understood, where I'm understood, where everyone else around me is understood, where it's completely like, it's pretty invalid to catch someone in doing something wrong. Yeah. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. If you're actually going to eliminate the problem, you have to approach it in a less vindictive, or less just, you're getting onto the person. That's not the way to handle it. Right. So when there is a problem, if there's a problem, instead of treating it like a problem, there's a whole different way to handle it, where you don't treat the person as if they've done something wrong, but there's a whole other process. So I don't necessarily fear me messing up, which I still do. I fear other people. I fear the fact that these other people may react, because I know how I'll react. For me, I don't know how they'll react. I don't know what they'll do.
So it almost sounds like the common theme in your life is like dealing with projections, people projecting onto you, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like it sounds like all your worries are just, they have to do with people projecting onto you. And like, you've created a system to like where you have a way to handle it, right? You can handle it through understanding. But what I guess you seem to falter on is like, there's this huge need to understand everything outside of you and inside of you at times, but that's where you're really going to get your moving forwardness, is really understanding you, and not necessarily every other situation, because situations change, like you said, and that's what throws you off. But you're the one constant, right? Like you just said, you're the one that will always be, and you know how you'll always kind of come off. So if you further investigate those inner depths, master your own kind of competency from within, and kind of like build an integrity with a different system that both involves, like understanding people, but fueling that for an energy that's really for maintaining yourself within these little actions that people have. Like when people project onto me, I don't care. I used to. Then I realized that people are living in different realities than I am. If everybody can live within one or the other reality, like if you could just, like, step into my shoes and really get what I went through, then like we would live in a totally different world. But the fact of the matter is, we have our own realities, and so we can try to understand as much as we want. But at one point, for me anyway, I stopped with trying to care for people's projections, right? Like if one of my girlfriends, from back in the day, or even the girl that I'm seeing now, even if she was like, blah blah blah, like, just putting energy on me, I know it's not about me. I would say, all right, well, listen, I'm going to be present with you. What's going on? What are you going through? If somebody's like, I'm going to bring you to court, I'm like, well, I'm sorry to hear that, but like, what are you going through? How can we work through this together? Right? Bring presence back into the projection aspect, because what you can most often than not do is you can calm the water, right, with bringing presence into situations, right? And so it's not a matter of understanding, but it's a matter of how you react to these situations, how you move forward from the situations. So I don't know if you've ever noticed this in your life, where like no matter how much you understand, you know, it's like you still handle the situation the same way, right? When you're thrown off, right? Understanding the world can be one thing, but then like if it doesn't help you with these situations, then what good is it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it made sense.
It made no sense at all.
It made sense.
It made sense. Okay, so, all right, so let's wrap up this call. I will briefly share some of the things. I mean, I covered a lot of the stuff in the other video, but for you who haven't watched it, I think there is an aspect that you guys need to know. Is
you need to know.
You need to know, yeah. There's a thing that it's the fear of being weak is tremendous for me. It's the fear of appearing weak, being weak, and to the point where I will sacrifice anything to make sure that appearance, and not even the appearance, but actually being weak, manifests, or how it manifests. And so in the summary, if you really want to know more about this, it's in my other video, the video right before this one. But the summary of this is the fact that, you know, I felt at a core that people wanted to be on top of you. And so for me, this always led to me not wanting to work for anybody. This has led to me to not even letting my parents control me, letting no one control me in reality. And the fear of relationships, because if you express vulnerability, you will be controlled. They can use it against you. They can manipulate you. They can do anything they want, and it can cause a lot of issues. So my entire life, I have put it into a perspective that I have not shared personal information as far as I go in my personal life, because I did not want others to try to highlight my weaknesses, and I have them, obviously, highlight them and use them against me. And it takes everything in my power for me to want to express myself in the sense of, or expressing a weakness of mine. So those who know me at least a little bit, or who have spoken with me, generally who are smart enough, Haley, if you're still watching, you're one of them, someone who can expose areas in which I have weaknesses, and it makes me very uncomfortable when people identify these weaknesses, because I am aware that they exist, and it's kind of like I don't want that person to go in there with a lance and just hit that spot of where that weakness is, because I don't even want to recognize it, and I tend to ignore it. And this is where I'm very distrusting of feelings in general, and as a result, I can come off as incredibly assertive with people who express their feelings, because I feel like feelings are an area in which that are very unclear, or even exposing my own feelings. And so I tend to hold things in. And I guess in the MBTI step 2, this comes off as contained. And there's a reason for that. And as I've moved forward, I've learned to be a little more expressive. I have not made major strides in this area. I would say that it's very marginal. It's moving like a caterpillar in the sense of me being vulnerable, at least in my own perspective. Some people would give me more credit for that, but I would say that I have not moved as far as I'd like. And
I have to give you plenty of credit for that.
Okay.
I've seen your journey for a couple months now, as I've known you, and you've done some pretty good work on that.
All right. Well, thanks for that.
Moving on.
Anyway, moving on. Yeah. So in my own experience, I would say it's not as moved as far as I'd like, because the expression of vulnerability is still a very, very sensitive topic, even to people who I would consider very, very close to me. Still don't know a lot about the way that I feel or think about things, as I tend to hold things within. I remember a very particular moment when I was in New York, and I was very, very sick, to the point where I was just dying. I felt like it was death for me. And
I was there. It's true.
yeah, Daniel witnessed this devastating moment. And I remember there was a point where I needed medicine. And everything in my body let sleeping Daniel sleep because my pain is something I need to take on myself. And I knew I couldn't really move. I was kind of screwed. And I was like, man, if I tell him, he's going to know that I can't handle this shit. And I said, I don't want people to think I can't handle my shit. I don't want people to think that, I am weak and I have to rely on people. I don't want people to think that, that I can't support my own pain. I can't deal with my own shit. Never wanted to be a burden on anybody, ever be a burden on anybody.
Meanwhile, I'm half asleep, wondering when he is going to let me know when he has to go because I'm ready.
It took hours.
I wonder when he's gonna tell me because I'm ready to go. I just want to get this shit over with so I can go to the store for him.
It was about 2:45 a.m. when I finally I had it. I was drenched in sweat. I was pretty much lying on the bathroom floor in complete utter pain and misery.
You were dying.
I threw up like 35 times minimum. I don't even know how many times. It's all like a blur in my mind. And I was just dying, and it was just the most disgusting I've ever felt in my entire life as far as sickness goes. And I was just like, I have to get him to go to the store, or I think I actually might die. Like, it was a horrible experience. I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know if it was food poisoning, but the point is, I finally got up, limped my way out, kicked Daniel in the foot, and I said, I need you to go to the damn store.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I think I'm going to die. I really don't think I'm going to make it through this experience. So, while he ran to the store, I was contemplating. I was like, was that a weak moment? Was that a moment where I failed? Is that a moment where I have failed in being strong? I was like, and it really was a struggle for me, and it still was. And even the next day, I was like, I got to get up. I got to do this shit. I got to move. And I was like, it's not smart. I got to let this stuff recover. But at the same time, I was like, I'm in this town I don't live in. I'm in a city. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do but lie in bed all day, and I'm going to look like a very weak person. And I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to feel weak. I can conquer anything. But honestly, my body just completely shut down. And maybe it's from a lack of sleep, stress, or whatever, but I tend to ignore these things because it does look weak. And to me, and it's still a struggle that I deal with on the daily basis, is when do I count on others to support me? When do I depend on others to help me when I need it most, right? And I don't. I'm a person who's never asked people for anything, and I don't like asking people for things. I still don't like asking people for things, and it's very, very, very hard for me to ask people for things. And even whatever it may be, financially, whatever, it's you fight until you die. That is the mentality I have had my entire life, and don't depend on anybody. You cannot be a burden to anybody. And in the back of my mind, it's always, you serve as the pillar of strength for everyone in your life. If you go down, you let everyone else down. If you go down, you let the entire building collapse. You're the framework, you're the backbone. And if you collapse, it's all over. And so this last 6 weeks, I was really struggling because my body really had completely shut down. And I felt like I let everyone down. I felt like I couldn't be that figure of strength. I couldn't push through, and I couldn't even really do YouTube. I couldn't do any of this stuff. And so, that was where the real problem for me was. It's just this last 5 weeks I've been constantly sicker than I've ever been in my entire life. I usually am sick for like 2 days, and then I'm through it, or I fight through it and I'm good. Or a head cold I don't even pay attention with. This was something different, and I believe it came from a point of maxing myself out, trying to be everybody's support system, trying to be take care of everyone, and not taking care of myself, and making sure that. And this is not the self-sacrificing 2 of the Enneagram. This is the pillar of strength that is in the back of my mind constantly. I will make sure that everyone is taken care of, not because I need recognition for it, but it's because I don't want anyone to ever go through what I went through when I was a child. I don't want anyone to ever suffer like I did when I was a kid. And if I see suffering, I'm going to do something about it. I cannot stand it. I hate it. And I hate watching people suffer. And I don't like self-induced suffering, but when it's self-induced, I'm a little more assertive about it. But when it's caused by other people, I have to step in. I do not like watching people suffer. And so when I go down, I feel like I can't stand for what I believe in most. And it's a point where I feel like I'm letting myself down because I'm not delivering justice as it should be delivered. And this is where I have a real issue with it. And still to this day, I don't think, you know, I don't really feel like it's been resolved. And honestly, I don't know if it should be resolved because I actually like this aspect of myself. The areas in which it can improve would be to make sure that I give people the benefit of the doubt and realize that being innocent sometimes and allowing others to help me is a step in the right direction. Now, this is a conscious thought, but it really hasn't taken hold or manifested in my life at any given point right now. It's a conscious thought of what needs to be done, but there's a point where you recognize what needs to be done, and then there's a point where it actually starts taking hold in your life and manifesting its way through your life. And this is probably the one, mark my words, this is probably the only times I'm going to say this, but at this point in my life, I think what's very necessary is to embellish and surrender a little bit to establish a romantic relationship in my life with a very specific partner that can understand this level of innocence and understand what is required and help me withdraw this innocence. I actually need somebody in this aspect. And it's a struggle for me because I'm admitting that I need somebody, but I do. And I don't need them to fill a void in me. I would have somebody understand me enough to withdraw the areas in which I feel that I cannot do alone. And that is a tough thing to do. And that is also what I wish to contribute back is giving and being able to give back whatever this person may be struggling with and whatever issues this person is dealing with and issues in different areas in which I have not had as much struggle with or I have already moved past. And so that's where the aspect of me understanding the necessity of a romantic relationship is starting to take hold in my youth as I am now, and realizing that, you know, you can do this life alone, but it really helps to have, and I don't mean it has to be romantic, but it would definitely help. It can be a very close friendship, even somebody who understands the areas in which I don't feel comfortable opening up to definitely not a guy and telling you, oh, I feel so weak in this area. That would be kind of weird for me. But I would feel probably more comfortable opening up to a female, and in that sense, and feeling a little more comfortable doing that. So I say romantic, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. So if people who can relate to this aspect may understand why this is, why I'm saying this romantic side, but I do say that it is starting to become a little more of a necessity, not to fill an emptiness in my character, because I'm pretty confident in my character, but rather to escalate and expedite the process in which I want to contribute back, though. It has to be a 50-50. It has to, I give as well, because the thing that makes me happiest is actually being able to give. That makes me very, very happy. I take people under my wing all the time. I take care of others. It makes me very happy, but I've been doing that my entire life. There's a point where it's time to flip the script a little bit and allow others to give to me. And this is the next step. And it's the next step for me. It's just to calm down on the giving and still do what I do. I'm always going to be that way, but actually allow others to give to me, because at this point I have not allowed others to do that, and I don't like people doing that. And there's always got to be, if you give, I have to reciprocate plus more. And sometimes I should just learn to say thank you and not feel the urge to flip it back, because I feel if somebody gives me something, they're positioning themselves as a benefactor to me, as a beneficiary, and it's a position. It's a position of weakness, or a position of being a beneficiary, or being in the service of somebody who I don't feel would be good for my ego fixation, which is being on top, or being in control, or being the boss, or whatever you want to call the Enneagram 8. So this is a rare moment for me. Like I said, I don't ever admit, and I have never admitted that I needed a relationship until this day. This is the first time I've ever come out with this information. But I guess it's a step in the right direction. You know, I guess it's an admission of where I recognize that hitting a wall over and over and over again can be really challenging. It can be really challenging because sometimes you need that other person to withdraw and to make you want to take that extra step. Because when you're doing it for yourself, it has a selfish intention, which is I need to do this for myself. But when you're doing it because someone needs you to do it, because you have to be a certain way with somebody, that's where the magic is. Because you have to care about somebody. I have to care about somebody more than I care about myself. You know, there's this saying that you have to be perfect before you can find the perfect person, but it's not really perfect. You have to maximize areas of your life before you can find the other person. And I don't want to say, oh, I'm ready for that, because I don't know if I'm ready. But what I do know is it would be very beneficial to have somebody be able to rely on or trust to help me bring out these aspects of my character that give me more incentive to do so, because I know that I want to give the best to that person. And so that's the if you look at what the virtues of the Enneagram are, you'll see that the Enneagram, and to summarize what we've talked about today, the Enneagram 3, honesty is one of their virtues, as far as being honest with themselves, where they're at. And the Enneagram 5 is they have a different virtue, which is, you know, in a sense, being a little less clutchy onto things. And we can always pull up the Enneagram of virtues if we want to talk about.
Is it cutting out for you too, Daniel?
Yeah, it's cutting out for me.
The Enneagram. Am I cutting out?
Yeah.
Yeah, you were. Go back. You were just talking about how we can talk about the attachments and stuff.
Okay, so I need to pull up the Enneagram of virtues real quick. So, Trey, can you pull up the Enneagram of virtues? My computer's spazzing out, so that's probably why
I can cut it too. Yeah.
Yeah. So just pull up the Enneagram of virtues and just go over them very briefly for the audience, so they understand that the virtues are the way that we move forward, and the way that we actually counter our type and move past our Enneagram type. It is not cool to be an Enneagram type, guys. It is cool to not have an Enneagram type because you've moved past an ego fixation.
Yeah. Instead of identifying with it. All right. So for 2, 3, and 4 in the heart sector, we have humility for 2. This is the virtues. Veracity. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah.
For 3. And equanimity for 4. Non-attachment for 5. This is in the head sector.
All right, so let's slow down. A lot of people don't know what veracity means.
All right.
So veracity means honesty. Okay, so for 2, it's being humble, having humility. For 3, it's being completely honest with yourself. And so for those who are Enneagram 3, it's having a core honesty. And one of my core values is always being honest to yourself. I always know where I'm screwing up, even if I don't want to admit it to someone else. It's admitting it to myself. Oh, you know, you're this problem or this problem or this problem. Whereas an Enneagram 3 is not my core type. I have a core type of 8. The Enneagram 3 generally does not know where they are lying to themselves. Daniel and I had talked about this a little earlier, and after asking him a few questions, he recognized that he may have been deceitful to himself, and I think he recognized those particular aspects. Enneagram 3s deal with this, and it's not that they're dishonest people. It's just they've adopted and adapted to so many images that they have a hard time identifying which one is actually true with who they are, which one resonates with the core, because they've taken on so many different perspectives. So that being said, 4, go ahead and start with 4 again.
Yeah, so sorry. So this is type 4, equanimity. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So you can see it too?
Yep.
Yeah, so type 4 is equanimity. And you want me to move forward?
Yeah.
Type 5 is non-attachment. Type 6 is courage. Type 7 is sobriety. Type 8 is innocence. and type 9 is action, while type 1 is severity.
Okay, so in each aspect we have these different virtues. Anyways, you can stop sharing the screen. The point is, guys, the Enneagram of virtues is the method in which we use to break free of our Enneagram type, and that's what we need. So when we look at that particular Enneagram of virtues, we can see these things that we need to do. So for Enneagram 9s, which I have a lot of contact with Enneagram 9s, is you can find that the word is action, which means instead of avoidance, you actually take action. So if you look at the Enneagram of traps or Enneagram of fixations, what you're going to find is the very thing that the Enneagram of virtues is going to be the opposite of, right? And so that's the key, is to really analyze the Enneagram of virtues and to understand how it takes role in your life and move past it. Okay, so Derek, I would love to explain the relationship between functions, but this is not the proper show for this. So I will do that another time. It'll be a future topic, of course. That would be a long conversation as well. So we can talk about the correlations between the two. But right now, I need to make sure that I cover each Enneagram type in full, as far as 3, 8, and 5.
I think,
so guys, go ahead.
No, I think that's true with the type 3 and honesty, because for me personally, like it's not hard for me to say like what's the honest truth, myself, my reality, internal and external. There's just a lack of focus to do it because it doesn't feed my current agenda, if that makes sense. Agenda being like my personal vision or going forward, because like in my heart, there's a lot of needing to move forward, right? Like, and for further reference, by the way, type 3s, I've noticed, love to use the word going forward or moving forward or something like that. Like, we want to keep moving. Like,
Segue.
we want to. What?
You said segue.
Segue, yeah. So my point is, how it ties into honesty. Honesty, like for me, it's never it gives value to me, but it's not as valued thinking about that stuff. So I'm really trying to personally bring more honesty into my life. Actually, guys, I should look at it more than I do, but I have a card because I read the Enneagram 3 chapter in this book that I'm reading, and I actually made a whole like 50 note cards of things to remind myself about myself. And it's very cool. And it all has to do with like my Enneagram type and trying to really, like Damon was referring to with the virtues and Trey, breaking out of like these ego fixations, right? Honesty being one of them, or like honesty being the main one, right? So yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
I have the fixations, virtues, and traps all pulled up, so if you want to know them.
Yeah, I can go through them real quick. But guys, just keep in mind that we will have these images available on the website. I'm going to put them on there soon. We got another question real quick. Do Enneagram 3s like to create fiction for themselves to believe, to motivate themselves to move toward an objective? If you could be more specific on the question. I just
want to say, I don't think healthy Enneagram 3 types would never want to create anything fictitious or fictional for their objectives, ever. Like, for me personally, I've never created something I never authentically saw that wasn't me. Everything is authentic to me.
Yeah, and you're going to find that because the Enneagram 3 does lose themselves in their own images they project. They're not doing it with this intent that, oh, it's fiction and I know it's fiction.
No, not at all.
Yeah, and then later they may find out it actually is fictitious, but at the time they feel it's very authentic. Yeah,
right,
so
yes,
exactly, John. So much fiction that you don't even know what's real anymore. That's true. You lose touch with the identity that you associate. Now, this is different between sexual 3s and social 3s and self-preservation 3s. Yeah. Because the self-preservation 3 is called the anti-vanity vanity of the Enneagram 3, whereas the social 3 is the standard 3, which is I gotta have my Lamborghinis and I gotta have my cool cars, and the I would say more of the, I don't know this for sure, but more of the image that Ty Lopez projects.
Yeah.
Right. And so that is like, hey, look at me, I got the cars, look at me, I've done it, look at me, look at me, look at me, right?
And you'll notice that, sorry, really quick, you'll notice that even when people say that he's fake or that, anything to do with him just isn't legitimate, like he'll get really defensive over it because that's kind of what he's built up over time.
Yeah. And whether he's successful or not, it doesn't mean he's not successful, but he's attached to the image of whatever that may be. And being financially successful does not mean that one has moved past their ego fixation. And we've talked about this.
I wanna chime in for the sexual type 3. Like for me, for example, I'll give you a good example. Like for about 8 months, I got totally obsessed with finance, with learning like the market, trading, like day trading, investing, the financial sector. And I wouldn't necessarily say, I wouldn't be like a social 3 and say, look at me, I know all these financial stuff, I know how to do this, I know how to do that. It's more like, this is like, I know how to do this and I want to help other people do it. And I want to help myself, help others, and then help more people with helping myself, kind of. You know what I mean? So it's all about growing through others than it is about, here's all this stuff that I can do, and then you can join me. You know what I mean? Join me on my pillar. Hop on this Lamborghini. No, it's not about that.
Right. So that the key is really understanding those the different types. Now, in the future, I say this a lot in the future, but I always get other stuff that comes up.
You're all about the future.
Yes. In the future, though, I would like to talk about the variations of each Enneagram type: Enneagram 3, Enneagram 8, Enneagram 5, the sexual, social, and self-preservations, because they're actually completely different animals, right? You have the many different types of these Enneagrams. So if you look at 9 Enneagram types, there's actually 27 Enneagram types as far as sexual, social, and self-pres. And so there's 27 different Enneagram types, essentially. So they manifest quite differently, and I'd like to really dive into those aspects. And like Derek wants me to correlate them with the cognitive functions, which I can do. I've done it before. I don't think I've publicized it, but I have documents that correlate the Jungian cognitive functions with the Enneagram. But honestly, I've been able to correlate the Socionics information metabolism elements more so with Enneagram than I have with the Jungian cognitive functions. And so there's that aspect as well. So really looking at the different correlations there are between the information metabolism elements and the Jungian cognitive functions, there's quite a difference. So yeah, and Derek, if you're Enneagram 8 SP, you're going to be a lot different than me. I have a SX preference, the sexual preference as far as Enneagram goes. So there's going to be pretty distinct differences, and I'll jump into that in the near future, the differences between those Enneagram types. So, but you can see that I think all 3 of us, Trey, Daniel, and I, are sexual types. So there would be a there's going to be a side of the Enneagram which you're not going to see here, even if you're a 3, 8, or 5. There's going to be different. Like Blake is more of a social type, I believe. Whereas
I think he is.
Yeah, and then Daniel. Yeah, go ahead.
I said when you compare SOs to SXs, social to sexuals, I always notice like a distinctive lack of value on content versus like the overall picture of connecting. Whereas Damon, even though he has SO, right, even though you have social as your second preference, right, you still care more about the value of the conversation than you do about like the conversation in its direction, what it means, right? So I think it's cool like that we're all working together and we value the same kind of content or focus on content.
Right. So we'll get into those in the near future. Guys, I got a million videos to do, and I'm just now getting out of the sickness, and I'm not down with it. So I'm all right, so you guys don't know Disturbed. And that was a reference. Yeah, exactly. But I'm just now getting out of it, so I'm going to get these videos rolling. I'm going to start producing videos on Enneagram, Socionics, as soon as I feel confident in my Socionics knowledge. Just for the public record.
For the public domain.
For the public domain, I am not 100% sure on my sociotype. I've talked to many experts. Some believe that I'm LIE, some believe that I'm whatever, ILI, and some believe that I'm SLE, and some believe that I'm LSI. So I don't know right now.
Premier?
Yeah, I have no idea what it is, and I can tell you I relate to SLE as I understand it the most, but it is not for certain, and I am still open. There's a lot of different, Socionics is one of those open things, the open source that everybody contributes, and things get very, very muddled. So as I filter through this garbage, which there's a lot of it, I'm starting to find out a little bit of consistencies, and I'll keep you guys updated on the journey in which I am identifying that. But so far, I'm still on the information metabolism elements are very different than the Jungian cognitive functions. They still have some similarities, though. But if there is one discrepancy between one cognitive function and one information metabolism element, you cannot completely contrast the systems. Okay, so what I mean by that is they're not cross-compatible. All right, so I don't care what anybody says. If there is one that is not the same, so you have an ESTJ who leads with TE and SI, then you have the ESTJ in Socionics who leads with TE and SI. If SI in Socionics is peace and harmony, and SI in MBTI is you're not following my system and I'm going to punch you in the face, they're not the same person. Okay, so there's a big difference, and if there's one function that is different, you cannot be completely cross compatible. SE and SI are the ones that are the furthest away from their JCF counterparts in Socionics. Okay, so, and as far as the rest of the functions, they have some similarities. I'll get into that. This is my own independent research. It doesn't mean that I'm right. Okay, because again, I am not saying I'm a Socionics expert. There are a lot of experts out there who are Socionists, and they understand it in the way they understand it. Whether it's they went to socionics.com, which I've heard was a crock, which I don't know. I've heard it. And then some of them went to sociotype.com. Some of them went to other things. There's a bunch of reasons, a bunch of different muddled information. There's model A, model B, model Z, model D, I mean, it's a mess. It's a nightmare. Okay, trying to sort through this. I tend to think that the highest clarity of Socionics I understand is the World Socionics Society standpoint of Socionics. It seems to make the most sense. I relate to it the most. It's the most internally consistent. So I followed that a lot, and I haven't found anything that I really have a discrepancy with. There's some I've seen discrepancies in the sense of its quadras, but I wouldn't go as far as saying it's wrong because I don't know. Okay, so I've always appreciated having Jack on the show, and I really like his viewpoints, and so I think he has a lot of value to offer. I've seen people just not like his angle on quadras, and so whereas everything else I've seen people tend to agree with. As far as everything else, the functions go and that kind of thing. But I find that the discrepancies between that are a lot less. So that being said, guys, I appreciate you guys hopping on here. And like I said, if you find any good Socionic sources, send them to me. I'm always researching, always looking for new data as far as Socionics go. I can't tell you. I honestly can't. Like I said, consider me SLE or LIE. I don't really care. So whatever. I don't care. I really don't give a damn. It's at the end of the day, it's what I think I am, and whatever you guys wanted to guess. I don't know what I am though, so I'm open to suggestions, which you guys may think I am. But as far as I understand Socionics, SLE makes the most sense, especially the FI blind spot. And this is a whole nother subject, just to give you guys who are arguing about
Damon, I'm sorry, but we have to cut this now. Please,
all right,
we have to cut this.
Daniel, I got this. I will cut this.
All right, so, you're getting off topic here.
I know, but I could cut this out of the final. I don't care. I want this to be said because I've seen this on every live show. Every single live show, people are commenting on what my freaking sociotype is. So
SLI, man, SLI.
I'm not an SLI, I'll tell you that. That's one thing I do know. So, but so that being said, guys, FI blind spot makes the most sense to me. FI being the polar function makes the most sense to me. I don't really relate to psychological distance. I don't really relate to anything FI as far as Socionics goes. I relate to FI as far as MBTI goes, and they are different. There's articles that have distinguished them as very different, And those articles I've researched, and they're highly credible. And when I release this booklet, which I plan on releasing in the near future, which is my BS opinion on Socionics, which means that it comes from me, it's not formal, of course, I will cite the sources in which I've gathered this information, and you guys can evaluate it yourself. Okay, you guys can say it's complete crock, and I'll make a revised version just to make you all happy. 2.0, 3.0, 3.6. Maybe I'll go 3.6.1.
Just to make you guys happy.
Yeah, just to appease you all, to make you all very comfortable, right? And to make you all feel like you're warm and fuzzy on the inside and say, you know what, he understands me. He believes in me.
Make your Socionics SI tingle.
The truth is, everybody in Socionics there's going to be a group that's going to disagree, and there's going to be a group that agrees, and there's not a damn thing I can do about it. Nothing. Yeah, nothing I can do about it, because they already disagree. I go on Socionics forums, and there's people like, you're stupid and you're stupid. And I'm a Socionist and I'm a Socionist, but you're stupid because you believe this or this. So no matter what, people are just not going to agree. And when I release something, people are just not going to agree. I would, however, appreciate anybody's input into their understanding of Socionics. You can message me through email, which is probably the best. If you message me on Slack, I'll probably ignore you for 6 days. That's been my average turnaround time. It's probably best to email me. It's Damon@mbtvcoach.com. And send me an email. I'm glad to have your contribute. As you understand the information metabolism elements or cite sources, send me links, whatever you want to do. I will check them out, and I will further my own understanding. I appreciate any contribution there. And if you really think you know your crap, we'll hop on a Skype call and we'll talk. All right, so
we're gonna make talking about Socionics great again.
Yeah, and yeah,
because it's not so great right now.
Yes. Hashtag make Socionics great again.
Yes.
Yeah, and MBTV that's totally trolling Socionics, because the name of our entire channel is MBTV, and we're gonna make Socionics great again.
we're gonna change our name to the Sociologists.
No, yeah, Socionics MBTV.
Socionixists.
Yeah, and Socionicsist. Yeah, so
it's gonna be a picture of a cyst in the Socionics.
Let's change our logo to a troll. I want to change our logo to a troll.
Why not?
Yeah, and just in honor of many of the trolls who have fallen on Slack. And
I don't actually think that's a good idea. It'll be a troll magnet for the channel. Everyone that sees our emblem will be like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna troll the fuck out of this troll channel."
Probably. Yeah, so troll the trolls, guys. But anyway, that being said, I'll keep you guys posted on Enneagram and MBTI and attachment theory and stuff that I actually know about. I'll get to Socionics eventually, and I'd say I have a reasonable understanding, but it's still a long journey, and there's still a lot to learn. But I've seen some pretty screwed up and some weird stuff about Socionics, some weird typings. Yeah. So some weird stuff going on in Socionics. And it's a disaster, guys. It's a disaster. And the change that we're going to make is going to be huge.
It's going to be huge. You stole the thought out of my mouth, Damon.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's going to be huge. You're like, it's going to be huge.
And we are going to build a wall between bullshit Socionics and actual Socionics.
It's going to be a great wall between the people. It's going to be a great wall.
Part of it will be defenses, but guess who's going to pay for it? Socionics is going to pay for it.
Between the theorists and what's actually real.
Is going to pay for it.
And what is going to pay for it? Bullshit Socionics? Yeah, we're gonna build it one ego block at a time.
We also have the nuke codes, just to comment.
Yeah, we're gonna make the bullshit Socionics pay for it, and whatever else.
Nuclear codes.
Yeah. So that being said, guys, we appreciate you on the show, and we appreciate you guys contributing to chat and always adding your input on the chat.
Hey, and follow us on social media to see other content, like our Instagram and our Facebook live events, to get to know us personally. For more motivational content, you can always check out Twitter that's all I have.
And if you guys want to see Daniel work out or talk, make sure you go on Instagram, because sometimes he works out and sometimes he talks.
Well, that's my personal Instagram, so you don't have to go there, but go on MBTV.
Yeah, but you can find Daniel working out. So
you can't find me working out on Instagram, but if you go to MBTV, it's just really good quotes that I say for you.
While he's working out, yeah, and so you can always add. You can always jump on there and make sure you watch Daniel working out. It's a good investment.
Today, be the best version of you.
Watch him do curls for the girls. on Instagram.
I should make a series, Curls for the Girls. Oh my God. Damn
No,
it.
you shouldn't. You really should.
I'm going to. And then I'm just gonna edit in the video a picture of your face on my face. Curls for the Girls.
Yeah, and while you're doing curls, give the most inspirational life wisdom.
Like, just do it. Like Shia LaBeouf. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like that, but be you, of course. Don't take on the image of Shia LaBeouf.
You literally said Curls for the Girls and 8 people left. So.
Also, good point. You can go follow my Twitter. I actually just made a Twitter recently. And if you want to know what the what the name is, I put it in the description down below. You just have to refresh the page. Because I would rather not say it unless someone here wants to say it. Break the ice.
You said the same word earlier, so you might as well say it.
Yeah, okay. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's blind_fucker. So if you'd like to, you can go follow me there. It's blindfucker on Twitter.
Yeah, so we have a comment that says, we sound like we are high. No, we're not. This is normal. This is normal MBTV when we're off air. We just happen to not hit that stop broadcast button at the bottom.
And I'm naturally high anyway, so it's not like it mattered in the first place.
Trey's always high. He's high without being high. No, it's actually blind fucker. It's FUCKER.
Blind fucker.
Not blind fogger.
Just somebody who blindly fucks the world. It's a good personification for our life, really.
Yeah, it's Trey. He really does not see in life.
When he fucks, he goes blind.
No, he's blind anyway.
Yeah, no, I miss everything.
He does.
I miss everything, but somehow catch everything at the same time.
Yeah.
But I miss mostly everything.
Right. So it's @blind_fucker. And if you want to follow Trey, and make sure you follow Daniel so you can see him work out.
Notifications.
And you can see him. I have a Twitter, but I never use it, so don't even bother.
No, but
make sure you
guys join our MBTV Twitter. Join our MBTV Twitter.
Yeah, get on MBTV social media. We post alternative content there. And so we do post a lot of different content as far as that goes. And sometimes Daniel actually does work out and talk. It's a good thing to see. Don't miss it. And there's other stuff on there as well. So
you can look at my progress. You can metricize my progress by tuning in every day.
You can metricize his progress by looking at his arms while he does curls for the girls. And someday they'll grow.
You guys will really help me out if you guys add me on Twitter, because I always forget about Twitter and I never do anything. But if I'm getting notifications, I'll tweet. So
I'm never going to ever admit that I tweeted today. That's not my lingo.
I tweet all the time. Hey
guys,
I just tweeted my tweet.
I tweeted, guys. Guess what? I tweeted. I'm not doing that.
Oh my God! Did you see my tweet?
It sounds so fruity. I've always kind of been so biased against Twitter just because of that. I'm like, I posted something on Twitter. Is all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna. I tweeted you. You know how weird that sounds to me?
No, Damon. Now they say twit. I just twitted.
That even sounds worse. In the future, it's gonna be somebody I twatted. It's not good. All right, I'm done.
Right now.
You're a fruitcake, Daniel. You know that, right?
Nope, I'm from New York.
Yeah, that makes you even more fruity.
Uh-huh.
So, all right, guys, we're ending this.
It's going to be huge.
Have a good night. See y'all later. It's all going to be huge later.